pé go live. One, ṣé ní go live?
Go live.
Ó ti lọ.
Kí lè lè báyìí? Ta ló lè ṣé wọ́n ló ní? Yà ókè bá. O ti rántí nǹkan ti bẹ̀ yẹn.
Ṣé kí ní go live? Fóònù ẹ̀ ń kọ́. Ṣé ti kó ti pè wá? Hey engineer, clap for me. Ṣèrè òní ta ló tẹ̀jẹ̀ ẹ́ dé. Ó yẹ kí n ta.
Mo gbà wọ́ọ̀dù. Lọ́wọ́ rẹ̀ á fún ẹ láwọ̀dù.
Ọjọ́ mi náà ń kó láì.
Ò bá wá gbé sí kinní kejì.
Ẹ dúró náà kò tí lọ náà ẹ má ti ṣe ọkọ.
Mo fẹ́ wo nǹkan tó wà lórí setting ká mọ̀ bí tí kámẹ́rà wà pẹ̀lú eléyìí náà. Bóyá fún wa ní ẹ́ńdírẹ́dì tó bá ti fún wa ní ẹ́ńdírẹ́dì.
A ní òbí fúnra mi.
Nígbà tó ti gbé microphone wálẹ̀ ló fẹ́ gbọ́ rẹ̀ àbó ti gbọ́ rẹ̀ wọ́n bí tó gbé microphone sí.
Hello.
Wọ́n ní headset àwọn ògbóra àwọn olórí headset.
Àtọ̀.
No.
Don't gbé ọ̀yá tọ̀.
Yeah, attention. Hello. What?
Ṣé music yẹn ṣó ń gbọ́ music nínú yẹn?
Gbọ́ music náà. Mi ti lọ láìfù ẹ fílẹ̀.
Ó ti dá àní kó o pín sórí ibẹ̀ yẹn láti bẹ̀rẹ̀ on click ẹ̀ sí ẹ̀ǹdì yẹn.
You drag it.
Kò ní ìdí drag on click ẹ̀ kò ń ṣe tó ṣe orange tó là yẹn lọ. Àní bí tó ṣe ṣúmi yẹn. Just here, this place, kò ní ìdí kó máa ṣe wàhálà for last day tó bá ti kó wà on place ẹ̀ kò clear. Just here and here. Tó bá ti sí ibi kò ní ibi mo try ẹ̀ ṣe bí ibi tẹ̀lé kò ní ibi. Mo pè sí ibi kò ṣe. Tó bá ń lòdì yẹn. Tó bá ń lòdì yẹn.
Náà ni wọ́n fẹ́ try láti bá wọn lò. Ṣé I should go live? Are you set? Let me click on live. Let's go live.
While the music is on, click it off. Check, it's over.
Wo camera setting o kàn ń gbé live àwo ní camera wa ojú ẹ̀ wà ní camera.
Ojú ẹ̀ sí mi.
Ó ti wà live náà. Orí tó ní end kò ṣó ní.
Ó ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ wà live now live now.
Wọ́n á gbé padà síbẹ̀ yẹn. Ìyá live náà kò yẹ kó a máa rí lò. Audio. Microphone. FPC wọ́n kọ́ lọ sí ní FPC. It's audio that you go to. Where's the microphone? Microphone audio náà ni voice.
afternoon. No.
What's the life?
What's the life?
It's nice. Why you want it? Okay, let's continue.
Mi kó bá òun ní Facebook.
Focus.
Ó máa ń ní kò ní pọ̀ sí. Àní má wá microphone audio ni wàá wá, òun náà ní microphone audio tó yẹ. Ṣé true kọ́ ló yẹ kó gbé sí àbí ilé tó wà ń fọ́ àbí nǹkan?
Welcome to our heroes. I must say this is the first session of our heroes for the year, and I welcome you again. I am your host, Olufemi Oyilade, and thank you for joining us. Today on Our Hero, we're going to be talking about another hero who has really contributed greatly to humanity in Nigeria, and whose impact have been applauded all over the world. And before we go into details, I'll be back shortly. Yes, once again you're welcome. This is Workplace Radio. You can join us via www.workplaceradio.com.ng, and if you're connecting via Twitter, you can connect via Workplace Radio 1. On Facebook, you can connect via Workplace Radio, And you can contact us right here in the studio on 080-916664. Don't go away. Today I'm going to be talking about a Nigerian who has contributed to human lives and, to the entire nation. He was a leader. And an exemplary leader for that matter, who actually died during the course of, fighting for integrity, fighting for justice, and fighting for betterment of human and the people in entirety. And don't go away, I'm still gonna come back. Right? Yes, today I am going to be talking about no other person than Kanule Benson Ken, popularly known as Ken Saro-Wiwa. Kanule Benson Ken, popularly called Ken Saro-Wiwa. He was born on October 1914. October 10, 1914. A Nigerian writer, television producer, environmentalist, environmental activist, and a winner of the Right Livelihood Award for exemplary courage and striving non-violently for civil, economic, and environmental right, and the Goldman Environmental Prize. Saro-Wiwa was a member of the Ogoni people, an ethnic minority in Nigeria, whose land in the Niger Delta targeted for crude oil extraction since the 1950s. Initially a spokesperson and then a president of the Movement for Survival of Ogoni People, MOSOP, MESOP. Saro-Wiwa led a non-violent campaign against environmental degradation of the land and waters of Ogoni land by the operations of the multinational petroleum industry. He was also an outspoken critic of the Nigerian government, which he viewed as reluctant to enforce environmental regulations on the foreign petroleum companies operating in the area. At the peak of his non-violent campaign, he was tried by a special military tribunal for allegedly masterminding the gruesome murder of Ogoni chiefs at a pro-government meeting and hanged in 1995 by the military dictatorship of General Sani Abacha. His execution provoked international outrage and resulted in Nigeria's suspension from the Commonwealth of Nations for over 3 years. Don't go away, that was just an introduction. Early life of Ken Saro-Wiwa. Kanule Saro-Wiwa, popularly referred to as Ken Saro-Wiwa, was the son of Chief Jim Wiwa, a forest ranger that held a title, and his third wife, widow. He officially changed his name to Saro-Wiwa after the Nigerian Civil War. He was married to Maria Saro-Wiwa. His father's hometown was the village of Bani, Ogoniland, whose residents speak the Kana dialect of Ogoni language. Saro-Wiwa spent his childhood and eventually proved himself to be an excellent student. He received primary education in a native authority school in Bori, then attended secondary school at Government College, Umuahia. Saro-Wiwa was captain of a table tennis team and amassed school prizes in history and English. If you join, this is the Workplace Radio, and the program is Our Heroes, where we talk about history, and we discuss, we analyze, and we appreciate legends, heroes who have contributed immensely during their life, and those who are still living. Yes. And if you're watching on Facebook, you can send your comments, you can like our page, and you can also share. All right. All right. Then if you're watching on Twitter, for Twitter you can join us via Workplace Radio 1, Facebook Workplace Radio, and you can also reach us via www.workplaceradio.com.ng. All right. On completion of secondary school education, he obtained a scholarship to study English at the University of Ibadan. At Ibadan, he plunged into academic and cultural interest. He won departmental prizes in 1963 and 1965 and worked for a drama troupe. He briefly became a teaching assistant at the University of Lagos and later at University of Nigeria in Nsukka, an African literature lecturer in Nsukka. When the Civil War broke out, he supported the federal government and had to leave the region for his hometown, Bori. He and his family then stayed in Boni. He traveled back to Lagos and took a position at the University of Lagos, which did not last long, as he was called back to Boni. He was called back to become the civilian administrator of Boni in the Niger Delta, and during the Nigerian Civil War positioned himself as an Ogoni catered to federal causes. He followed his job as with an appointment as a commissioner in the Old River State. His best-known novel, Soldier Boy, a novel in rotten English, tells the story of a naive village boy recruited to the army during the Nigerian Civil War of the 1967 to 1970. And intimates the political corruption and patronage in Nigeria's military regime of that time. Sarah Weaver's War Diaries on a Darkling Plain document his experience during the war. He was also a successful businessman and a television producer. His satirical television series, Bassi and Company, was widely popular, with an estimated audience of 30 million. In the early 70s, Sarah Weaver served as the Regional Commissioner for Education in the Rivers State Cabinet, but was dismissed in 1973 because of his support for Ogoni autonomy. In the late 1970s, he established business ventures in retail and real estate, and during the 1980s concentrated primarily on his writing, journalism, and television production. In 1977, he became involved in the political arena, running as a candidate to represent Ogoni in the Constituent Assembly. Sarah Weaver lost the election in a narrow margin. His intellectual work was interrupted in 1987 when he re-entered the political scene, having been appointed by the newly installed dictator Ibrahim Babangida to aid the country's transition to democracy. But Ken Sarah Weaver soon resigned because he felt Babangida's supposed plans for a return to democracy were disingenuous. Sarah Weaver's sentiments were proven correct in the coming years as Babangida failed to relinquish power. In 1993, Babangida annulled Nigeria's general election that would have transferred power to a civilian government, sparkling mass civil unrest and eventually forcing him to step down, at least officially, that same year. In 1990, Sarah Weaver began devoting most of his time to human rights and environmental causes. Particularly was one of the earliest members of the Movement for Survival of Ogoni People, MOSOP, which advocated for the rights of Ogoni people. The Ogoni Bill of Rights, written by MOSOP, set out the movement's demands, including increased autonomy for Ogoni people, a fair share of the proceeds of oil extraction, and the remediation of environmental damage to Ogoni lands. In particular, MESA struggled against the degradation of Ogoni lands by the royal Dutch shall. In 1922, Saro-Wiwa was imprisoned for several months without trial by the Nigerian military. Don't go away. Saro-Wiwa was vice chair of the Unrepresented Nations and Peoples Organization, Unrepresented Nations and Peoples Organizations, UNPO, General Assembly from 1993 to 1995. UN National Non-Violent and Democratic Organization, of which MESOP is a member. Its members are indigenous peoples, minorities, and unrecognized or unoccupied territories who have joined together to protect and promote their human rights and cultural rights, to preserve their environment, and to find non-violent solutions to conflicts which affect them. In January 1993, MESOP organized peaceful marches of around 300,000 Ogoni people, more than half of the Ogoni population, through 4 Ogoni urban centers, drawing international attention to their people's plight. The same year, the Nigerian government occupied the region militarily. See, people forming united forces to fight for. What do we have today in Nigeria? We no longer see ourselves as a nation. Our ethnicity is now the reason for our diversity. We're no longer neighbors who love one another. No one good for another. No. Let's go back to one people, great nation. This is Workplace Radio, and Our Heroes is a program. The host, you can reach us via www.workplaceradio.com.ng, on Twitter, Workplace Radio 1, Facebook, Workplace Radio, and you can reach us on our phone via 080-9166-6694. Don't go away, we are still on Our Heroes. discussing Ken Saro-Wiwa. I've taken you through the introduction, early life, and activism, and I'm going to talk now on his arrest and brutal execution. All right. So Saro-Wiwa was arrested again and detained by Nigeria's authority in June 1993, but was released after a month. On 21st May 1994, 4 Ogboni chiefs, all who are on the conservative side of a schism with a mess up over strategy, were brutally murdered. Saro-Wiwa had been denied entry to Ogoni land on the day of the murders, but he was arrested and executed for inciting them. He denied the charges, but was imprisoned for over a year before being found guilty and sentenced to death by special convened tribunal. The same happened to 8 other Mesop leaders who, along with Saro-Wiwa, became known as the Ogoni 9. Some of the defendants' lawyers resigned in protest against the alleged rigging of the tribunal by Abacha regime. The resignations left the defendants to their own means against the tribunal, which continued to bring witnesses to testify against Saro-Wiwa and his peers. Many of these supposed witnesses later admitted that they had been bribed by the Nigerian government to support the criminal allegations. At least 2 witnesses who testified that Saro-Wiwa was involved in the murders of the Ogboni elders later recounted, stating that they had been bribed with money and offers of job to give false testimony. Wow, what a world. A world where, good people die for, innocent causes. A world where, innocent people become victims. A world where citizens, or a nation where citizens are bribed just to betray friends, neighbors. This is so painful. Knowing cancer of the people who took people's cause to heart and sold himself completely to ensure that things go well. Painfully, the same man was betrayed. It was robbed for something by his own people. Painful. The trial was widely criticized by human rights organizations, and half a year later, Ken Saro-Wiwa received the Right Livelihood Award for his courage, as well as the Golden Environmental Prize. On 8 November 1995, a military ruling council upheld the death sentences. The military government then immediately moved to carry them out. The prison in Port Harcourt was selected as the place of execution. Although the government wanted to carry out the sentences immediately, it had to wait 2 days for the makeshift gallows to be built. Within hours of the sentence being upheld, and 9 coffins were taken to the prison, and the following day a team of executioners was flown in from Sokoto to Port Harcourt. Yes, on 10th, Saro-Wiwa and the rest of the Ogoni 9 were taken from the army base where they were being held to Port Harcourt prison. They were told that they were being moved to Port Harcourt because it was feared that the army base they were being held in might be attacked by Ogoni youths. The prison was heavily guarded by riot police and tanks, and hundreds of people lined the street in anticipation of the executions. After arriving at Port Harcourt prison, Saro-Wiwa and the others were herded into a single room, and their wrists and ankles were in shackles. They were then led one by one to the gallows and executed by hanging, with Saro-Wiwa being the first. It took 5 tries to execute him due to faulty equipment. His last words were, "Lord, take my soul," but the struggles. After the executions, the bodies were taken to Port Harcourt Cemetery under armed guard and buried, anticipating disturbances as a result of the executions. The Nigerian government deployed tens of thousands of troops and riot police to 2 southern provinces and major oil refineries around the country. The Port Harcourt Cemetery was surrounded by soldiers and tanks. Wow. The executions provoked a storm of international outrage. The United Nations General Assembly condemned the execution, in a resolution which passed by a vote of 101 in favor to 14 against and 47 abstentions. The United Nations General Assembly condemned the execution of Ken and the other 8 Ugandan leaders in a resolution which passed by a vote of 101 in favor to 14 against and 47 abstentions. The European Union condemned the execution, called a cruel and callous act, and imposed an arms embargo on Nigeria. The United States recalled its ambassador from Nigeria, imposed an arms embargo on Nigeria, and slapped several travel restrictions on members of the Nigerian military regime and their families. The United Kingdom recalled its High Commissioner in Nigeria, and the British Prime Minister, John Major, called the executions judicial murder. South Pole in leading international criticism, with President Nelson Mandela urging Nigerians' suspension from the Commonwealth of Nations. Zimbabwe and Kenya also backed Mandela, with Kenya's President Daniel Arap Moi and Robert Mugabe backing Mandela's demand to suspend membership. But a number of other African leaders criticized this suggestion. Nigeria's membership in the Commonwealth of Nations was ultimately suspended, and Nigeria was threatened with expulsion if it did not transition to democracy in 2 years. The US and British government also discussed the possibility of an oil embargo backed by a naval blockade of Nigeria. This is still our heroes on Workplace Radio. You can reach us via www.workplaceradio.com.ng, on Twitter Workplace Radio 1, Facebook Workplace Radio, or call 080-9166674 to reach us. Your host again, Olufemi Lade. Don't go away, we're almost done. Still discussing and appreciating Ken Saro-Wiwa. Yes. Now, in his 1989 short story, that's Ken Saro-Wiwa, African Kills Our Son, Saro-Wiwa, in his resigned melancholic mood foreshadowed his own execution. Well, it is true. It is true. I've been, over a few stories of great people, great leaders, African leaders, Nigerian leaders, and all over the world who have suffered one thing or the other. It just amazes me how we celebrate evil, and we just put good things under a bushel. We celebrate good people. We celebrate terrible things and magnify terrible situations, but we fail to recognize and promote good things. And that's why we are in this situation we are today. That's why we are here we are. And until there's a change where we encourage people to engage in good things, to promote, a worthy and noble cause, then things would continue to remain the same. Ken Saro-Wiwa himself, said, "African kills our son." Oh, that's too sharp. But there it is time for change. We can't keep applying the same principle to get a different result. No, something needs to be done. Something needs to change. Don't go away. I'll be back. Ken Saro-Wiwa's legacy. Saro-Wiwa's death provoked international outrage and the immediate suspension of Nigeria from the Commonwealth of Nations, as well as the calling back of many foreign diplomats for consultation. The United States and other countries considered imposing economic sanctions. Wow, what a shame. His awards. The Association of Nigeria's Author is a sponsor of the Ken Saro-Wiwa Prize for Prose. He is also named a writer hero by the My Hero Project. He also has several literature to his record, some of which are Saro-Wiwa's execution is quoted and used as an inspiration for Beverly Naidu's novel, The Other Side of Truth, written in the year 2000. Richard North Patterson published a novel, Eclipse, in 2009, based upon the life and death of Ken Saro-Wiwa. Kanule Bisin Saro-Wiwa Polytechnic, that's another polytechnic named after him. The governor of Rivers State, Ezenwo Nason Wike, has renamed the Rivers State Polytechnic after Ken Saro-Wiwa. Wow. Many thanks to the governor. But the deed has been done. Maynooth University and Ken Saro-Wiwa. A collection of handwritten letters by Ken Saro-Wiwa were donated to Maynooth University by Sister Magella McCarran, and also in the collection are 27 poems, recording of visits and meetings with family and friends after Saro-Wiwa's death, a collection of photographs and other documents. The letters are now in Digital Repository of Ireland, DRI, in case you need some of it. The Ken Saro-Wiwa archive is housed in special collections at Maynooth University. Yes, that was a whole lot about Ken Saro-Wiwa. Wow. It's so painful to lose good people. It's so painful how we treat innocent people. It's so painful how we treat people with integrity. It's so painful how we treat, God-fearing leaders. We have a culture of always wanting to pull down someone who is following a just cause. We have a culture of always want to, always want to know people of integrity, just to ensure that power. And that's why we keep paying and we keep paying. Look at the situation in the country today. We have a problem, or we have a culture of distrust already, infesting our system. We have a culture of not being sure of what tomorrow holds. It just seemed to me as if we're just, reaping from what has been sown in the past. Fellow Nigerians, workers, this is applicable to us. As you're doing your work, as you go about your daily activities, what are you doing? Are you promoting integrity? Or you are part of those who are pulling integrity people down? Oh, they say if you can't win them, you join them. No. Ken Saro-Wiwa, till his death, refused to join them. You don't have to join them. If you can't beat them, then you pull out. That is my humble advice. Nigeria can be a better place. Nigeria can be Nigeria can stand again if only we will all put our hands on deck and ensure we promote just cause. We pursue noble cause, not selfish. Alright? I am going to draw the curtain here today on this station, the Workplace Radio.